What's going on, everyone? Today we are competing in the PiCasso Design Challenge. Today we are taking the Raspberry Pi 3B Plus and turning it into a massive Raspberry Pi. Now, originally what I wanted was a big unit that all the ports, everything was working, and it was just basically piggybacking off the 3B Plus. But after playing around with it and getting some of my prints done, a little bit more planning might need to go into it to get everything working. But for starting off, I will definitely get the GPIO working on it, and then I will move on to the other stuff as I get to it. A lot of my prints for this unit will be where I can actually separate them and be able to create my custom ports, wiring, everything that I need to get this working. So that brings me to the GPIO. Now, it will be piggybacking off this and trying to find a suitable material to be able to do this might be a little tricky, but I'm going to have to play around with it a bit to find the right product to use as the pins. I have a few ideas for this, but it's going to be my main focus is the GPIO, because I think that one's going to take the longest to complete, just because it's going to be more wiring it up as well as creating those custom header pins for the GPIO. And then maybe I'll try, if I have time, to make a custom cable for it to plug into it and maybe run something off of it. I'm going to take this guy here and make it, I do believe, 20 by 32 inches. And from there, we'll get it all cleaned up, get all the components printed out, get paint on it, get everything going. And once it's hanging on the wall, that's when I'll go ahead and start working with the board and getting those electronics completed. So if you noticed in my office, there is a huge big gray spot that has nothing on the wall there. Well, I think that's a good spot for it. So make sure to check out the description below. I'll post the links to element14.com where my blog post will be, and you can go through a lot more in depth. And I'll also even post below the main page for the PiCasso Design Challenge. And make sure, hey, throw some likes at me, you know, just hit it on element14.com as well. Make sure you hit that like button for me, join the community, show your support. This is going to be a fun project, and I can't wait to get started. So without further ado, let's get CNCing. Now that we have the CNC machining part done, we need to go ahead and get this cleaned up so we can get some paint on it and then get the printed parts together and then get those all painted and put onto the board, and then we can start working on the GPIO and then finally getting it up on the wall. Now we've got the cleanup of the PiMassive completed. Now we can go ahead and get the 3D printed parts completely dealt with and then start getting them on the board. Things haven't gone 100% as I wanted to, but that's where the fun of this design challenge is having an idea and just following through, trying to make it happen as much as you can, and just enjoy it. So from start to finish, or hopefully to finish, it's been a really wonderful experience so far. I've learned a lot. I've ripped through a lot of filament, and we got more printing right now. The GPIO pins are just finishing up, and then we can get on to cleaning up all those 3D parts and get those painted and get those on the PiMassive. I've got all my parts here, and well, for the most part, I think I got a couple scattered around. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get this all put together, get the USB ports all nice, looking good. I do have a little bit of cleanup to go on this guy here. These are going to be cut in half and then used as the pins for the GPIO. And then we'll get those guys actually working once they're on the board. Originally what I was going to use is some rod here, some square rod, but finding the right size, everything around me is not in metric, so I had a heck of a time trying to find something that was close to, but nothing was the 6mm that I needed, so I ended up having to print my own. And trust me, I tried a bunch of different rods and nothing was doing the trick. Either too small, too big, nothing the right size. And I really didn't want to get away from keeping it as much to scale as I possibly could. I know a couple of the parts are not 100% to scale, but pretty darn close. But I'm not going to reprint them now. Maybe later on down the road when I attempt to get them working, I'll go ahead and do that. But just because the time frame, and realistically it is the 27th of May when I'm recording this. Yeah, it's been a lot of work, a lot of painting, and so far I'm enjoying the results. A couple things sure they didn't turn out the way I wanted to, but that's just the way it goes. I definitely thought I could get more of the components working, but due to the time frame, I'm just going to be getting the GPIO working, which I think will be kind of cool. And yeah, I'll get the Pi mounted on the wall here. I have the French cleat for that. So I'll go ahead and get that mounted on the wall today, and that way we can hang it up there, and but also be able to start getting these components installed. And once I get those all glued together, put together, and yeah, we'll see what happens here. As you can see, here's the display port here, or the camera module. We have the Wi-Fi module here. It's a little bright, can't really see it there. Let's turn it to the side a bit. So we got the Wi-Fi module here. It turned out really well. I'm quite happy with that. Lots of stuff on the go left to do. I'm pretty sure there's probably some components I did forget to print, so today is completely assembling the parts, trying to get them on the board and get it up on the wall and figure out what parts I'm missing so I can get those printed right away and installed on the board. And then once I get some of the screws that I want, I'm going to have to shape them for my tips for on the GPIO, so that way I can run that down through. And with the hole through there, it's 4mm hole on the inside. It's 6mm squared, and that will give me the amount of room I need to feed my wires through them, as well as be able to mount the screw on top without really doing too much damage. So I need to get these sanded, painted, and then installed into the GPIO. But the GPIO, once again, is in 4 sections, so I need to get that put together as well. Anyways, that's enough rambling. I'm gonna get to doing, so I'll be back here shortly to explain some more. So yeah, here we go. Okay, so we're really close to being complete, the PiMassive here. I didn't realize how long everything would take. I really need to get my write-ups going. So for now, I'm just going to get the 3 and the 5 volt and the ground working on the GPIO. That way I got something I can play with, and just to make sure it works and kind of monitor that and see if the method I used for making my GPIO is sufficient. Another thing is I had a few parts that I thought I had printed enough of to go onto the board. I didn't. So I will be posting a few follow-up pictures with a couple more components added. It's just a couple capacitors and a few other little components that I missed in my first and second attempt at getting them all printed. So far, it's all pretty darn good. I just got the LED strip lit. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to load up the SD card for the Raspberry Pi. I've got the battery pack installed, the GPIO breakout board installed, and I have the GPIO wired to that for the moment. I might change that in a while of how that's configured, I do have a couple other little aesthetic little things to do, but I'm just going to be nitpicking and doing that kind of stuff, adding a few little knickknacks here and there. I did even print up for the screw holes some caps for the screw holes, so that way when the LED light is on, you're not going to be seeing as much as that come through there, and it'll be more of a backlight. There's a couple of other holes on the board that will also have to be, the solder joints for the USB and Ethernet will also have to be filled in. And I'll use my wonderful 3D printing or 3D pen and just do that in. Just a silver flake pen to touch that up and give it the same coloring as all the other silver components on the board. All in all, this has been an absolutely amazing project and a lot of fun. It's definitely gotten its hours out of me on it, and I think it's going to look really great on the wall up behind me. Make sure to check out my blog posts on element14.com, and you'll find more information on each step and a lot more photos. And hey, if you think there's something I could do differently, let me know. I wouldn't mind some input, but for now, yeah, it's a great looking little wall piece, and I hope you guys enjoyed this journey with me, because it's been a ton of fun. And this is something I know I'm just gonna keep on tinkering away with here and there, and adding more things, removing things, upgrading things as I go along. Eventually getting the USB ports so they're working, the Ethernet. We'll see what happens. I wouldn't mind getting the a couple of the other things, the HDMI and the micro USB working, just because I think it'd be kind of cool to make some really oversized cables and some really oversized components to plug into them, like a really massive keyboard or a really massive mouse, and have it to the scale that I've done on the Raspberry Pi here, so that way your mouse is the size of this key, or the size of the board here, or a little bit bigger, just for fun, just to see if I can do it, and just make some giant stuff for it, and have fun with it. And that's my main thing, it's just having fun with it. Adding a display would be just as easy as having it connected to a really big TV up on the wall there, but I'm not going to do that. I'll probably just leave it so I can SSH into it and run a few things. But for the most part, it'll just be an art piece, but the option to be able to use it will be there, because it does have the Pi 3 B Plus connected to it, as well as the battery power pack. So that's going to be the main thing, to have it on the wall and completely wireless, but still having the functionality there. I may upgrade the battery to something a lot bigger, since I do have the room for it on the back there. Maybe 2 or 3 laptop batteries. The French cleat that I am using on the wall there will hold a ton of weight, so as is, this thing is really heavy, and I will actually get an actual total weight of this unit here. I'm going to get this finished up and my blog post posted there, so you can enjoy them, because the deadline is coming up really quick here. So check it out. If you're watching on YouTube, link is in the description. Check it out. All I can say is wow. So I have it all set up now. I have Raspbian installed on it with the VNC on it, so that way I can remote into it. No wires, as you can see. That was my main concern, just having something that looked really great up there that could do the trick and be a Raspberry Pi, and a massive one. and it'll make a great backdrop as well. So that's it for me for now on this project. I definitely would like to revisit it in the near future as well. Upgrade some things, do some more things with it, and play around with it. Like I said, I've got a lot of time invested in this board already, and I think it's awesome. Yeah, I wouldn't mind doing some more projects in regards to making things bigger. I think that's a pretty sweet thing to do. Make something that's meant to be small and making it bigger. So smaller isn't always better. Like, come on, look at that. That's beautiful. Who wouldn't want a Raspberry Pi that big hanging on their wall and working? Thanks again everyone for watching. You have a wonderful day, a wonderful week, and we'll see you next time. Take care, eh?